Coverage in the right-wing press who are not trying to distract you from everything that their favourite political party is doing to this country. Goodness me, no. Why would anybody think that? In other news, a small number of rich people perish in a boating tragedy, while hundreds of poor people perish in a boating tragedy. Guess which one got most coverage? Guess which one was barely mentioned at all? Poor lives don't matter.
On your radio, on Global Player, and
Play LBC.
Leading Britain's conversation. This is LBC.
From Global's newsroom at 10 o'clock, the government announced new measures to ease pressure on people who are struggling with their mortgage repayments after the Bank of England rose the base rate of interest to 5% yesterday. It includes allowing borrowers to temporarily switch to an interest-only deal without it impacting their credit rating. There will also be a minimum 12-month period before a home can be repossessed. Chris Justin from Seven Investment Management has told LBC it's not all good news, though.
Anything that softens the impact of rate rises, which are happening, to dampen spending, that's the whole idea of them, effectively counter the bank's intentions. We're basically in a situation where we've got to choose between pain or more pain. And as long as inflation remains high, it's getting that under control that is the priority for the Monetary Policy Committee.
A man's been found guilty of the murder of Met police officer Matt Ratner after smuggling a gun into a holding cell. 25-year-old Louis de Soiza opened fire while he was in handcuffs in Croydon in September 2020. Deputy Assistant Commissioner Stuart Cundy says everyone respected the custody officer, even people he'd previously locked up.
The detainees that he had previously cared for, some of those came back to the custody centre, to Wimble Road, to pass on their own respects. And I think that's the mark of the man who cared deeply for others, has left a lasting legacy across policing.
A former police officer has been jailed for 5 years for the sexual assault of 3 teenagers while working on a cadet scheme. 36-year-old Adnan Ali had also sent sexual messages and indecent pictures while employed by Greater Manchester Police. Strike action by Heathrow security staff has been called off. The Unite Union says a deal's been struck offering a pay rise of between 15.5% and 17.5%. Around 2,000 workers at Terminals 3 and 5 will be affected. And the Prince and Princess of Wales have made their first appearance at this year's Royal Ascot race meeting. William and Kate took part in a traditional carriage procession with the King and Queen. In the city, the FTSE 100 has closed down 40 points at 74.61. The pound buys $1.26 and €1.16. LBC weather, rain moving across the north tonight, drier elsewhere with a low of 12. Rain will turn lighter and patchier in Scotland tomorrow, largely dry elsewhere with sunny spells and patchy cloud. Very warm in the southeast again and a high of 29 degrees. From Global's newsroom for LBC, I'm Daryl Jackson.
This is LBC from Global, leading Britain's conversation with Nick Abbott.
Oh, hello there. Very nice to meet you.
Hi, honey. How are you?
I am great, mate. Met Office Deputy Chief and Meteorologist Chris said that there's going to be a clear split in the weather over the weekend between the southeast and the northwest of the UK. Yeah, I bet there will be. I can check on that while you wait. Northwest of Britain, let's just see what's going to be happening. One moment, please. Huh? Oh, I haven't got it. I'm going to have to look it up. Hang on. Glasgow. Glasgow. Oh, blimey. Wow. Good grief. Well, I wasn't expecting that. But I bet you were, if you're living in Glasgow. Let's see now. It's raining right now. Can you believe that?
Yes.
It will also be raining tomorrow, and raining on Sunday, and raining on Monday, and raining on Tuesday, and raining on Wednesday, and raining on Thursday, and raining on Friday, and raining on Saturday, and raining on Sunday, and raining on Monday, and raining on Tuesday. We're into July now. And raining on Wednesday and raining on Thursday. It's going to be raining absolutely every single day for the next 2 weeks. I really wasn't expecting that. I thought it might get, a little bit of rain here and there. Not every day. God, it's like January out there. Met Office Deputy Chief Meteorologist Chris says the UK is transitioning. What? He said the UK is transitioning to a more typical weather pattern. Oh. He said there's going to be high pressure to the south and low pressure further north and west, albeit with some very warm, hot air in the south and the east at first. He said official heatwave criteria could be met for parts of southern and eastern England, with temperatures most likely to peak in the low 30s on Sunday in the southeast. Oh, blimey, you know what that means?
Emergency, everybody to get from street. Emergency, everybody to get from street.
Those listeners in Glasgow will get their own weather. Western Scotland and Northern Ireland are likely to accumulate the highest rainfall totals, with possibly more than 40 millimetres falling in some spots overnight on Sunday and on, Saturday and into Sunday. Overnight, Saturday into Sunday. There may be thunder, lightning, very, very frightening.
Rock and roll!
Temperatures look set to fall early next week, with many areas feeling a bit fresher. Huh. Would you like to hear the long-range forecast for the next 4 weeks?
No.
She had to think about it for a while there. She said, So, the next couple of weeks, this is up until the end of the first week in July. Oh, blimey, it's almost July already. How did that happen? I'm not done with April yet. Rain across most parts on Wednesday. Your parts will get wet. Showery later in the week. Showery later in the week, rain towards the weekend, temperatures near to above average. That's until the end of the first week in July. Middle 2 weeks of July. Right, here we go. Good luck, everybody. Fingers crossed. Could be wet in the north and dry in the south. Or it could be the other way around. They literally said that. Experts using a computer the size of a football pitch have no idea what's going to happen in the next month. Robots they were using. They really have no idea. But heat waves are possible during the middle of July. Temperatures most likely to be remaining well above average for the time of year. Heat waves are possible during the middle of July, with temperatures most likely remaining well above average for the time of year. We'll take it. Robert emails, I watched a TV programme and a woman explained why she voted to leave the European Union. Yeah. I didn't see the programme because, I just can't stand it. But I did see that nice lady explaining why she was intent on voting to leave the European Union. She's done her own research. He says, I watched a TV programme and a woman explained why she voted to leave the EU. She was fed up of Britain paying for British builders to have safety guards on roofs. Yet when you go to France or Germany, they don't have any safety guards. Where do they get these people? A genuine question. I mean, seriously, where did they get those people? It wasn't the only clip that I saw. The internet was alive with them. He says, I don't remember vote leave, putting freedom to fall off roofs in the literature, but look at the upside for British undertakers. Funerals must be going through the roof. Ahmed says, last week I heard you say, and not sure if it was a mistake, that all Fishy wants to do is stop small coats from coming here. No, not coats. He says, I then thought that's probably his size, so what's he going to wear in the winter? We don't want our poor Fishy to freeze, so please allow some small coats in just for him. Yeah, stopping small coats is his number one priority.
The country's priority is to stop the boats. And at the same time, I think people know that I'm relentlessly focusing on stopping the boats. I'm relentlessly focused on stopping the boats. That's one of my 5 priorities. Stopping the boats. And I think people know that I'm working night and day to stop the boats.
Yeah.
I firmly believe that that's what the country wants me to do.
I doubt
that's what the government is committed to doing, and we're working night and day to stop the boats.
No, you're not.
That's what the country wants us to focus on, and I will keep at it.
Yeah, keep at it.
I am totally 100% on it.
He is 100% on it. It's just the robot reciting what a focus group told him to say. I'm not sure that he's actually real life. No one has proven to me that he's not artificial intelligence. Well, artificial anyway. Liz says, not that Liz, surely?
Absolutely.
Liz says, Nick, mate, I was watching Piers Morgan the other day. Oh, well, shall I read any further? Any thoughts? Hands in the air, yes? Hands in the air, no? Oh, OK, you're curious. Liz emails, Nick, mate, I was watching Piers Morgan the other day. Piers is spelt wrong, by the way. And it has a lowercase p, but never mind. And mate is spelled M8. Nick, mate, I was watching Piers Morgan the other day, and I would say you're on the same extreme wavelength as him. I used to think Piers was balanced, but he's actually hard left and reminds me of you, says Liz. Well, I'll sum up that text for you. You're an idiot, Liz, and I mean that in a helpful way. Tom says, did you see Mogg defending Johnson in Parliament? It's one of the most uncomfortable things I've seen in a while, and I think I need a sick bucket. He said...
My view...
Yeah, no one's remotely interested. You silly, top-hatted twiglet. Joanne says, Fishy Sunak has said that he's on it. What do you think it is?
I am totally 100% on it.
I don't know what he's on, but he is absolutely gripping it.
I'm gripping it.
At the same time. On it and gripping it. Simon says, I can't believe I'm saying this as a Tory and a child of Margaret Thatcher about the very sad events of the Titanic disaster, but it just goes to show that when you have too much money, you spend it on doing ridiculous things rather than giving it away to people that need it. I have a friend who recently sold his company for £14 million, and he spends his life just spending it on ridiculous things. I might have to sit down for a minute, but I'm coming to the conclusion that money should be spread about a little more. Correctamundo. Here are just one day's headlines from the Mail. Tycoon who turned down tickets for him and his son on doomed Titanic sub reveals text from company boss trying to flog him last-minute cut-price seats. Another. I'm sorry, some what has been found? The moment OceanGate co-finder is told Titan submarine debris has been discovered. Another. James Cameron blasts hunt for sub as nightmarish charade. Another. It could have been me on Titanic sub. Another. Alive 1 millisecond, dead the next. Another. UK student 19 who died in sub tragedy was terrified about trip and only joined it to please his dad for Father's Day. Another. Marine who turned down a trip on Titan says carbon fibre hull has never been successful at extreme depths. Another. Their relationship was a joy to behold. Heartbroken family of British university student and father who died in Titanic submersible implosion pay tribute. Another. How intense is the water pressure at Titanic wreck? Another. What parts of Titan have been found? Another. Dan Wotton says... The new Titanic disaster united the world in equal horror and admiration, but it's a new low for the hate-filled left to use the tragedy to say explorers should be taxed more to stop these pioneering adventures. Apparently it's Jeremy Corbyn's fault. No! Another. The Titanic is a graveyard, it should be left in peace. Another. The Simpsons fans claim episode where Homer goes on deep-sea dive and is faced with low oxygen tank predicted OceanGate. Another. Inside the mind of thrill-seeking billionaires. Another. Titanic movie soars into top 10 on Amazon Prime as viewers are reminded of James Cameron epic. Meanwhile, see, that's the coverage, and the only thing that even comes close to that was Philip Bloomin' Schofield and anything that Meghan Markle does. Or doesn't do. Doesn't really make any difference about Meghan Markle. She can sit there with a bag over her head in the dark corner of one of her homes with not doing anything, not moving a muscle, and they'll still be able to write 5 pieces slamming her. So, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. 15 stories on the one thing. One day in the Mail. How many stories in the Mail about the fishing boat crowded with migrants travelling from Libya to Italy? Sank with hundreds feared dead. How many? 0? 0. Not one. I looked through the entire site. No stories. You probably might be surprised to learn that it's an event that actually happened. I bet you, and if you have heard of that, in amongst the tsunami of stories about the Titanic sub, I bet you haven't heard of this. At least 2 migrants died and 35 more were feared dead after an inflatable boat en route to the Canary Islands off northwest Africa sank on Wednesday. Did you even hear about that? I bet you didn't. You know, it's terrible, but can you imagine the coverage if there had been somebody famous on that boat? They would have had to build another wing on the internet to put all the stories in. It's not that poor lives don't matter. It's just that poor lives don't matter. 0345 6060 973. Text 84850. Email nick@lbc.co.uk. If you're on Twitter, it's @LBC. Friday, Saturday, Sunday night at 10. Nick Abbott, LBC.
This is LBC. This is LBC with Nick Abbott. Call 0345 6060 973. Text 84850. Alexa, send a comment to LBC.
Thank you for holding. Your call is important to us.
Yes, this call is important to us. It is from a person called Phil in St Albans. Phil.
Hi, Nick. How you doing?
Good, thanks.
Great. First time caller, long time listener, all that stuff.
Good man.
I'm normally too drunk to call you on a Friday or Saturday.
Well, I'm normally too drunk to receive your call, so.
But I went to Stag Do a couple of weeks ago, and I haven't been able to drink since. So this is about the first time, the first opportunity, you know.
Right, if you say so.
Booze.
It's just, you know, normally when people ring up and they've been drinking, it doesn't always end well.
No.
So I sort of, you know, aid on the side of caution. But I want to speak to you about Blackadder.
Right.
Because you're amazing, apart from the fact that you won't entertain watching Blackadder.
Well, I've never seen Blackadder. I know what it is, but I've never seen it. I'm a bit allergic to British comedies because they have a tendency to be not funny.
Indeed. But this is the exception that proves the rule.
Right.
And I've got a proposition for you. Because, you know, Carol McGiffin has promised to buy you dinner.
Yeah, promise. That. Yeah, no food has been forthcoming so far.
No, so I was going to suggest that I would pay for you to have dinner if you watch Blackadder and don't like it.
If I watch Blackadder and don't like it?
Yeah.
Well,
yeah.
Right, so where are we going for dinner?
No, I won't take you. I mean, I know you don't like people. You probably wouldn't like me. So no. I would just pay for you to go.
Yes, but where would you pay for us to go? Because, you know, it could be Pizza Express or it could be somewhere much more salubrious.
Well, you know, it has to be something sort of reasonable, but not too ridiculous.
Well, what reasonable to me is one thing. Reasonable to Carol McGiffin is something else entirely.
We could let your listeners decide what reasonable is.
Let the listeners decide where we eat. Yeah, let me think about that for a second.
No.
No, it's a big no from me.
No. Nick?
Yes?
The other thing is that I think you and Carol should do a show called Sausages and Dingleberry.
Right.
Where, you know, just a very short sort of one-off maybe, you know, where you actually do discuss the things that you can't talk about.
Yeah, no. But thanks for the good suggestions, Phil. Yeah, thanks for the good suggestions, Phil, but it's a no from me. 0345 6060 973. If you have no idea what all that was about, is that Carol McGiffin and I do a podcast.
Oh, right, yeah.
Now, the idea of the podcast is that we try to solve people's problems while guffawing like seals. If you want us to have a bash at your issue, then you must send it to the following address, nickandcarol@global.com, nickandcarol@global.com, but prepared to be reasonably satisfied.
Oh, right, yeah.
Ask for it by name on an internet near you. What's your problem with Nick and Carol? There's a new one, always comes out on Monday. If you have an hour and you wish to be amused, I think it'll be right up your alley.
Yeah.
0345 6060 973. Let's have a call in Chingford. John.
Oh, Nick, hello. Are you well?
Yes, thanks.
Good. No, you were talking about the mini-sub sort of disaster, and I was just talking to your researcher that the amount of vitriol a journalist called Ash Sarkar has received for daring to say, if you got $750,000 to go on a boat trip, then you're obviously not paying enough tax.
Right.
And also, you know, the coverage of the refugee boat that sunk.
Well, what coverage?
Exactly. I mean, just saying that rich lives matter, but poor lives don't.
Yes.
But from the right-wing media and also those two very right-wing TV stations, she's just been vilified. I mean, Dan Wootton, who you mentioned earlier, you know, it's almost like steam was coming out of his ears for her actually daring to say I thought a lot of reasonable people would have thought anyway, really.
I believe that this is the subject of Bodger Johnson's next column for the Daily Fail.
Yeah. Wait a minute.
Well, I can't believe it. His first one was, poor me, I'm so fat. And this one is, let's support millionaires on their hobbies.
Yeah, well, I can't wait to miss that. Anyway, it's not enough to flaunt your wealth with 24-bedroom mansions and super yachts. You've got to go on these sort of ventures into space and, sub-aqua sort of, there's risks in all these things. I mean, there's not,
well, that's the whole point. The whole point of taking a balloon ride over the Arctic and, blasting yourself off into space and doing bungee jumps and all of that sort of stuff. The whole point is that it's dangerous. It gets the heart beating. It's the danger is the attraction. That's why they do it. They weren't going down there in order to discover something new about the Titanic. They were on a jolly.
No. Yeah. I mean, Ash is a bright kid, and I mean, the vitriol that she's received, even from the left. I think there's a guy, Lord Ian Austin. I think I might have got. He's one of the most vitriolic critics of Jeremy Corbyn. But even he's a Labour peer, I think, and even he's chipped in.
Right. Well, I have no idea. I didn't read the column. I've got no idea what she said on it, and neither do I know what the tax affairs of the people that were associated with this are. No idea. But the basic truth is that the rich don't pay as much as a percentage as the poor do. That's true in pretty much every country on earth, and it's certainly true here. If your secretary is paying more as a percentage of her earnings in tax than her boss, then something is clearly wrong. If the richest people in the country can pass on their wealth untouched by the taxman, then how come us poor dopes who pay taxes have got to pay such a vast chunk of it when we pass on? It's different for the rich. But they complain and complain and complain. And the reason that they do is that even if they were taxed at, let's say, 10%, I mean, that seems like a great deal to get away with it, doesn't it? I mean, that is pretty much getting away with it. If you have if you make £10 million a year and you're only taxed at 10%, that seems like, well, who wouldn't be happy with that? Well, rich people wouldn't be happy with that. It's not the percentage that is the issue. It's the amount that the percentage is levied on. So 10% sounds like a good deal until you earn £10 million, and then you're going to have to write a cheque to the taxman for £1 million. Nobody wants to do that, so they'll do everything in their power to get around it. And the difference between them and us is that they can afford to get around it because the rules are written in their favour. The rules are written by the people that they can hire to get around the rules, whereas us poor dopes who pay taxes can't. And that's the difference. So the column that you're discussing, that you're referring to, I've got no idea, didn't read it. I've sort of got a bit of a, I don't know, The Guardian. There's just something about them that just rubs me up the wrong way. Just a bit too self-satisfied and smug for my liking. I mean, some of the writers, excellent, no doubt about it. But, some of the writers on the Mail are pretty good. He said, trying to think of one. Bound to be a couple, aren't there? Thanks, John. 0345 6060 973. Rona text, July already? How did that happen? Surely we only just had Christmas. It's Jesus' birthday just the other day. Where is it? Oh. It's only been a week. I've forgotten where all this stuff is. It's almost as though I'm not very good at my job. 0345 6060 973. Lewisham. Hello, Barry.
Hi there, Nick.
Barry.
Hi. Hiya. Yeah. Right. I think what you're saying in this, it comes down to who represents us, right? Right. So did you watch the question time thing yesterday? Oh, my gosh. It was a Brexit special.
Yeah, I know that. Right? Which is one of the reasons I didn't watch it. I mean, there's just so much I can take.
No, you have to watch it for TV because we have to see.
Definitely not watching it.
The thing is, the UK is really failing in terms of stopping these mad lunatics representing us. They're crazy. I've never seen such an angry bunch of winners. They're the winners. They are the winners, man.
It's true, yes. This is them when they win. Can you imagine what it would have been like if they'd lost?
Oh my gosh, it would be murder. But they were livid. They had because they were sold a crop.
Yes.
They can't accept that they were sold a crop.
Too much loss of face.
Yeah, they can't do that. So now they're just angry with everything else. And
yes.
This is why they're now focusing on, look at the immigrant thing, right? Okay, you've got this. We've been told that we must hate people on boats. Mm-hmm. We've got people on submarines now that we've got to love. And actually, normally, in normal times, we'd all feel some empathy for those people, despite the fact that it's really hubristic. Do you know what? Icarus flew too close to the sun. Mm-hmm. These lot have gone far too close to the ocean floor. Do you know what I mean? This is... It's the same thing. It's hubris, and all right, we get it. But normally we'd have some empathy. But because
we do have empathy. It's just that there were tragedies at sea of a much greater magnitude that were almost completely ignored under a tsunami of coverage about this thing with the Titanic.
That's exactly it, because we're being encouraged to believe that is what represents us. That level of disdain towards people, that is British, apparently. Great British values is hating people on boats who are vulnerable. Meanwhile, do you know what I mean? We can't now see the wood from the trees. We've all lost ourselves a little bit because we've allowed those people to represent us. Those people who don't know what they voted for, don't know what they wanted, and can't accept the fact that they've been lied to. They are representing us as people on the world stage.
Well, Barry,
like a joke.
It's not like a joke. It is a joke. We are an international laughingstock. Sadly, even Donald Trump is at his worst couldn't take the eye off us as the international laughingstock of the world.
America seems like sort of aggressive. We're just sort of really, really affably stupid, it seems. We're just going along with the most ridiculous things, being led by people like Boris and Rishi Sunak. Rishi Sunak, who was part of the financial crash. We've given him the keys to the house that he burned down originally when he was at TCI Capital.
I think the project continues unabated. It's just that the face on the poster has changed. That's all. They've just changed some of the front of shop staff. Every now and again, it's like, hey, how does this one suit you?
Yeah. Wait.
Okay, you don't like that one? How about this one?
Absolutely.
Oh, you don't like that one? How about this one?
I'm gripping it.
I mean, they've got no end of. They have no end of them. You don't like that one? They'll change them for another one. But the route remains the same.
We've been gripped. We've been gripped by this madness, and I don't know. We've got to stop letting these people represent us. As I said, revolution next.
Well,
it's up to you.
Yeah, but if they do actually allow another election, and my money is on not. I mean, people seem absolutely certain that we'll get another general election. I'm not entirely convinced about that. We'll see when we get there, I suppose. But I would not be remotely surprised if they said, well, for security reasons, we're going to have to cancel it for the foreseeable future. It's for your safety. And we, as one nation, will say...
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. May I have another? Would not be surprised at all if the next general election was cancelled. For operational reasons or, whatever they'll come up with. But if we do get another election, make absolutely 100% certain that, first of all, you've got an ID, some sort of ID card, and second of all, that you bloomin' well use it. 0345 6060 973, text 84850, email nick@lbc.co.uk, and if you're on Twitter, it's at LBC. Friday, Saturday, Sunday night at 10, Nick Abbot, LBC. It's just past 10:30, the news headlines with Darryl Jackson.
Nick Abbot on LBC. Call 0345 6060 973.
Hot air. H-O-T-A-I-R.
Hannah says, 7 years since the Brexit referendum today. 7 years old. Hannah says 7 years since the Brexit referendum today, and a guy rang Tom Swarbrick's programme this afternoon and said that he voted to leave in 2016 because he didn't like the EU flag having stars on it like the US flag. Hannah says, I thought I'd heard it all. Now I think I have. He voted to leave because he didn't like the stars on the flag. Well, that makes as much sense as anything else I've heard this year. Good grief. Hey, by the way, the government doesn't like the stars on the flag either. Did you know that it was illegal to fly the European flag on a government building? Yeah. Ministers have been accused of criminalising the flying of the European Union flag on government buildings in England after London's City Hall was told that it could be prosecuted, as in arrested by the law, for displaying the flag on their building on the anniversary of the Brexit referendum.
What?
Yeah. The EU flag is against the law. 7 years after the referendum on leaving the EU, the Greater London Authority, well, Sadiq Khan, they planned to fly the flag on Friday, but in the interests of free speech, officials were advised that under the regulations, they would need to secure permission from the authorities. Without so-called advertising consent from the local council, City Hall, which is the headquarters of the Greater London Authority, which is where Sadiq Khan, the capital's mayor, is based, they would have been liable to a criminal prosecution under the amended Town and Country Planning regulations. I mean, to be clear, you can fly any flag you like. We could have the Russian flag flying from the mayor's office. We could have the flag of the United Nations or a rainbow flag, but not the EU flag, because the government are frightened of it. Concerned that it will remind people of the epically stupid thing we did by leaving the thing that flag represents. At least I assume that that's the reason that the law was changed, to make flying the EU flag illegal. Instead, we're directed by the government to fly the Union Jack because that'll make Brexit work. I mean, really. I'll tear down the blue flag with the yellow stars on it because the sight of it will cause a stirring of malcontent among the residents of Clacton, who voted to leave the EU because the French and the Germans go on their roofs with nothing, apparently. While we Brits are forced to do health and safety, or whatever that nice woman on Question Time said. We're being led by those people. People who shout the loudest.
Fabulous.
So the Mayor of London, a Remain voting city, Remain by 60% to 40%, cannot fly the EU flag on his building in support of EU workers still here, doing jobs that would otherwise not be filled, because the government are terrified that a flag will cause those who voted out to revisit their decision and possibly blame those responsible.
Yeah. Wait a minute.
So what's he going to do? Well, Sadiq Khan will instead use lights to display the EU flag's blue and yellow colours on the building to mark the anniversary of the Brexit vote. Just nipping nimbly around these stupid regulations. And that sound you hear is the government furiously trying to come up with some way of banning the colours yellow and blue. He's on it.
I am totally 100% on it.
Trying to ban the colours yellow and blue. It's his number one priority.
I'm gripping it.
7 of the 10 areas with the highest share of the vote for Remain were in London, a city where it is illegal to fly the EU flag on a government building. What a way to run a country, eh?
Dreadful.
I am stunned. Sorry, Milan.
Hey, Nick. I don't know if you watched Question Time on Thursday.
No. I saw the nice lady with the roofs and the bloke who apparently follows people from the moment they wash up on the shore right to the benefits office, which seems a bit stalkerish to me.
Can I say something controversial?
Uh-oh.
I must be living in a parallel universe. I was watching it dumbfounded, thinking how utterly delusional the population of Clacton, or the majority of the population, are, or those in the audience, because it was like...
Those in the audience.
you're presented with facts, and you're still believing in unicorns, and it's you snake oil salesman came to Clacton and told you unicorns, we can give you unicorns. People like me told you unicorns don't exist.
Yes.
Unicorns haven't appeared, and instead of getting angry at the snake oil salesman, you're getting angry at people like me who told you that unicorns don't exist.
Yes.
I just don't get it.
It's because you don't believe in unicorns enough, Milan.
That's
You have to close your eyes and concentrate. Everybody must do this at the same time, otherwise unicorns won't appear. It's your fault.
But if I was a special advisor in number 10 or in the cabinet, I'd actually be jumping for joy if I was watching that. I'd be like, oh my God, it's so easy to con people. It's so easy to con the electorate. Look how easy it is. We can lie to them, and look how deluded the population of Clacton are.
Correct.
We can lie again for the next general election, and they'll believe it.
They're doing it right now. The masses are asses. Don't forget that.
And I was thinking I think we've spoken about this, no matter how many times you present facts, but if somebody still believes in unicorns, you're not going to change their mind.
Yeah. Everybody gets to have their own facts now. There are no facts. There are just thoughts. There are just wishes that you can will into existence by the power of your thinking.
Yeah, exactly. But I think I was trying to get into the mindset of that, and I think it's like a casino where they're betting on 7, and people are told, don't bet on 7 because that's stupid. Look how much money you've lost. But to then stop betting on 7 means like they're admitting failure, and I don't think they want to admit failure. They made a mistake.
Well, this is why people who own casinos have got so much money.
Yes, exactly. But I don't know how. It's quite dangerous. We're going to come to the next election. The Tory party looking at that, thinking, brilliant, we can just lie and we can win Clacton very easily. Yeah. I mean, Douglas Carswell got a seat there. I mean, he loves Clacton so much, he's now in Mississippi. So,
really? Can he spell it, though? MISSISSIPPI.
He came into Clacton, and then he's like, yeah, I love Clacton. Clacton's great. Where is he now? Yeah, thousands of miles away in Mississippi. But dangerous times, Nick, on the 7th anniversary. And how do you think Brexit is going?
Well, let's sum it up in one word with 2 syllables.
Dreadful.
Yeah, that's about right. Seen any good films lately, Milan?
I saw a good film on Amazon Prime called The Covenant.
Right. Sounds like one of those things where somebody wakes up in a basement, changes the radiator. Is it something like that?
It's a Guy Ritchie film. It's about soldiers in Afghanistan. It was really good. Right. What about you? You seen any?
I saw I'm All Right, Jack, which was pretty good. I saw The Green Man, which wasn't. Both of which featured Terry Thomas, who I could watch for an unlimited number of minutes doing his act. He basically plays the same person in every film he's in, but it's so entertaining that you just can't stop watching him.
Apparently, I was going to say, apparently Tom Cruise is right near you today or yesterday. Was that right?
Yeah, I can smell his scent in the air. I have no idea, but I do know that the next Mission Impossible is coming out in a week or so.
Yeah, the premiere was this week.
I can't wait. I will actually spend money to go to the cinema to see that. Can you believe that?
No.
Yeah. All right. Thanks a lot, Milan. Cheers, mate. 0345 6060 973. Hang on. You can text 84850. Email nick@lbc.co.uk. If you're on Twitter, it's @LBC. John says, could Rishi Sunak please stop gripping it?
I'm gripping it.
No, apparently. Simon says, whatever's happened to that crazy Quartain bloke? You don't hear much from him these days. Yeah, haven't we been lucky? He says, I hope he's crawled under a wet stone somewhere. Merry Christmas. Like Jesus' birthday all over again. La, 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 la. Isn't it a beautiful tune?
Nick Abbot on LBC. Call 0345 6060 973.
You're joking.
0345 6060 973. Caroline text is way too hot now. What I need is a special weather suit that maintains a perfect 21 degrees at all times. Yes. Why don't they have that yet? Paul says, Rishi said today he is not only 100% focused on the NHS, but he is also totally on inflation as well. So that's 200% of him. Yeah. Giving 200% is his number one priority. It's my number one priority. Marion says, Rishi is on it. Well, his family did have a pharmacy, so I suppose it could be just about anything imaginable. Well, that is true. He's on something that makes him like an excitable little robot dog, like a little robot puppy who just keeps coming out with the same thing over and over and over again. Like one of those dolls that you used to have as a kid that had a string out the back and you pulled it and it just said the same, like one of 10 things. Except his is stuck. It just keeps saying the same thing over and over again.
The country's priority is to stop the boats.
Stop the boats.
And at the same time, I think people know that I'm relentlessly focusing
on stopping the boats. Yeah, just over and over and over again. So I don't know what he's actually on, but I wish he'd take less of it. East Yorkshire. Hello, Mike.
Hi, Nick. How's the warm weather suiting you?
Just fine.
Not bad, isn't it?
Yeah, but then I don't have a proper job, so...
Yeah, a couple of things this week. Did you notice the Electoral Commission had published figures on how many people had been blocked from voting?
Yes.
14,000.
14,000, correct.
And possibly double that deterred from voting when they did the research.
Right.
And then, now think about this. Smug came out and said, our little gerrymandering scheme didn't work.
Yeah, he actually said that out loud.
My view
is that it didn't work. Gerrymandering, he actually used that word, yeah.
Yeah, now, how stupid is the man? Of course it worked. It would have been even worse for the Tories if they hadn't done it.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, saying the quiet part out loud, they just don't care anymore, do they? I mean, this thing is supposed to be secret. This is one of those things that you're supposed to do in secret, or at least not admit that you're doing it, trying to gerrymander your way into winning an election. But he just blurted it out, unbidded.
And then he's too stupid to realise that it worked, not sufficiently to do them any good. But it would actually have benefited them. It would have been even a worse result if they hadn't done it. But the other thing that annoyed me this week was Monday, the Privileges Committee vote. Sunak didn't do anything.
Yeah, bravely ran away.
And Smug gave that speech and then abstained.
Yeah, I know. Do they believe in anything? I mean, genuinely interested to hear the answer to this question. Do they believe in anything other than their own self-advancement? I'm just curious.
I mean, I can't believe it. I meant to check up before I came on whether Elwood did actually vote in it, because he promised the peasant on radio over the weekend that he'd change his plans and vote, but I haven't checked up whether he did or not.
Wasn't it Cleverly who said, I would have voted, but I can't remember where I was. He was in a drinks party about 5 minutes walk away from where he should have been voting. Can't remember where he was. Cleverly, eye.
Absolutely ridiculous. But did you see Trump get his trousers thing down by the Fox guy this week?
Oh, please. That is not even Melania wants to see that.
Over the documents thing.
No, I missed that.
He read out the charge to Trump that he's been formally charged with overholding the documents at Mar-a-Lago.
Yeah.
And Trump said, there were no documents. There was paper. there were only papers and newspaper clippings. There were no documents.
Right.
And the guy said, you've been charged with holding documents that the FBI retrieved. There were no documents.
Right.
And he just went on, and this guy just took him apart, which was quite
Which guy was that?
It was a Fox News questioner. I don't know which one it was. I've heard the clip a time or two. But,
right. Well, that's news to me. The stuff you miss when you're passed out from the heat. All right. Thanks for the good news, Mike. Cheers, mate. 0345 6060 973. How many documents were there?
Maybe 4?
About 4 documents. It was either 4 or... 506, something like that. I couldn't happen to a nicer guy.
Oh, shut up!
Alan says, freedom to fall off a roof is always there. Half-price prepay fuel top-ups is too. Wow, that's hard. Half-price I should have quit while I was ahead. Half-price... You try it. Half-price prepay fuel top-ups is too. Half-price prepay fuel top-ups. Good grief, did you actually write that without thinking it out there, Alan? Or are you deliberately trying to tie my tongue in knots? Freedom to fall off a roof is always there. Half-price prepay fuel top-ups is too. Energy companies milking poor prepay got to come to an end. Mega profits out of poorest on prepay. Please call for half-price fuel top-ups. Wow. I definitely should have quit while I was ahead. Did any of that make sense?
No.
But at least it was difficult to say. Shall I say it again?
No.
Something about prepay, and then the rest of it's just it's all. The whole rest of it's just like a fog to me. Laura texts. Let's see how difficult this is to say. She says, "I reckon Fishy has been listening to you. He said the word priority on the TV the other day in a very apprehensive way. Priority. It's my number one priority." He's the Prime Minister of this country. Can you believe that?
No.
0345 6060 973. And when the Tory party screw him up and throw him away like a used tissue, who are they going to replace him with? Or have they scraped through the bottom of the barrel and found nobody there? I mean, who could it possibly be?
My view.
Oh, Struth. Well, nothing would surprise me at this point. Glasgow. Hello, Craig.
Hello, Nick. How are you doing?
Good, thanks. Is it raining?
No, it's dry for a change.
Is it? Well,
in my little area.
Right.
Anyway.
Not for long.
But no, absolutely not. I mean, it was terrible on Tuesday. The Scotland game nearly got called off. It was that bad. This Brexit anniversary.
No, can't say that. He expressed himself in builder's language.
Disgusting.
Can't say that. Better luck next time, Craig. Thanks for that. 0345 6060 973. We're running a delay here to protect your delicate ears. Of course, that's the kind of language that you can use on the television at this time of night, but not on the radio. Not allowed. Illegal. Don't ask me why you can say it on television, but you can't say it on the radio. That's just the way it is. Ben texts, Brexit, migrants, submersibles, rain in Glasgow. Do you have a fan at home to keep you cool? What's that got to do with Brexit, migrants, submersibles and rain in Glasgow? And no is the answer to that. Gillian texts, I think you're wrong on this one. People die in boats crossing the channel on a very frequent basis. It's starting to get boring. How often do you see a submarine in a tragic setting making a news story? Yeah, well, that's just entertainment, Gillian. I'm talking about people. Steph texts, well, what do you know? You weld a couple of old tin baths together and charge people with more money than sense for a voyage to the bottom of the sea in a submersible to see the iconic wreck of the Titanic, and boom, fish food, Kelsopre's horrible, horrible way to go, says Steph. Well, apparently not. Apparently it's instantaneous. But it is terrible. But just for numbers of people, if we're talking about numbers of people, it is not remotely the worst thing that happened at sea this week. But it's the only thing that got any coverage. Because poor people don't matter. Now, you can paint it any way you like, but that is the essence of it. Sam says, have you seen that they put a 12-month suspension on any repossessions just in time for when Labour come into power and then face a deluge of them? Suspicious? No?
No.
Yes. Everything is suspicious. If they picked up a tenner and asked you if it was yours, I would be highly suspicious of their reasons for doing that. They would wave that tenner in front of your face while picking a 20 out of your wallet. Always keep your eyes open. Phil says, isn't it awful that the Knights are isn't it awful that the Knights are drawing in again? Hey, stop it. It's too painful. It comes around far too quick. Has it happened already? The height of summer, it's been and gone, hasn't it? So it's all downhill from here. Stop reminding us. Adrian says, of course the weather is going to be bad. Glastonbury is on. Well, it's good this time, apparently. I was at the Glastonbury for many, many years, probably about 10 years in total, from 1982 onwards. Maybe 9 years, something like that. And the one thing that you don't want is rain because it stops you from doing the one thing that you do want to do everywhere you go, and that's sit down. Can't sit down when it's raining, which means that the most important thing to carry with you when you go to Glastonbury is a bin bag. Something dry to sit on. Something impervious to the damp. Very, very important. They probably won't need it this time around, but trust me, if you ever consider going to one of those things and you're going to be tenting, then a bin bag is your best friend. And you can thank me for that advice later. No, wait, I've changed my mind. You can thank me now.
Thank you.
0345 6060 973. Text 84850. Email nica@lbc.co.uk. If you're on Twitter, it's @LBC. Friday, Saturday, Sunday night at 10. Nick Abbott, LBC.
On your radio, on Global Player, and
Play LBC.
leading Britain's conversation. This is LBC. This is LBC from Global, leading Britain's conversation with Nick Abbott.
Shut up.
Hello.
0345 6060 973. Clive texts, we are doomed, marooned and doomed, but don't panic, it could have been far worse under Jeremy Corbyn. Oh, yeah, but it wouldn't have been any better under Labour, would it? God, if I hear that one more time, I'm going to scream. Simon says, you mentioned about ID voting. Did you see that 14,000 people were prevented from voting in the local elections recently? Yes. Also known as the plan. Around 14,000 voters were denied a vote at the local elections because they didn't have the right ID. Analysis by the Electoral Commission found that thousands of people were turned away from the polling stations due to the Tory voter ID crackdown, which came into force last month. The watchdog found that 0.7% of people were blocked from voting as they didn't have a photo ID. But around two-thirds of them returned later in the day and were able to vote. I bet that if it was raining, they wouldn't have done that. Approximately 14,000 voters, 0.25% who went to a polling station, however, were not able to vote at all. And the Electoral Commission warned that significantly more people likely didn't even bother turning out because of the policy. So if 14,000 voters went to a polling station without ID, let's assume that many, many more, a multiple of that, did not bother to go out at all because they knew they didn't have an ID. Critics have accused the government of voter suppression and warned that minority communities are likely to be worst affected, which isn't some lefty Ramona talk. They actually said that it was designed to cut the number of people voting in order to swing the elections their way. This is, I mean, it's just absolutely incredible. I mean, doing this, trying to cut down on the number of people that might not vote Tory, that's one thing. But actually saying that that's why they're doing it, I mean, they are beyond caring at this point. Last month, former Cabinet Minister Jacob Smug suggested that the introduction of voter ID was an attempt at gerrymandering that backfired against the Tories.
My view.
Can you believe that he said that? He did actually say it out loud. I am not hallucinating. That happened. I mean, they know that their cult fans are going to vote for them no matter what punishment they dish out. And just enough people will respond to the, look, there's a dinghy, to push them over the line and win the next election. I bet that's what they're banking on. And who would bet against them? They seem to be very good at winning elections. Labour's deputy leader, Angela Rayner, said that people were being locked out of democracy by the Tory crackdown. She said these strict rules are having a chilling effect on democracy. Yeah, the plan. It's not an accident. Stopping people from voting who might not vote Tory is the government's number one priority, regardless of what other priorities they might spout on about.
The country's priority is to stop the votes.
Stop the votes. It's not his priority, nor is it our priority. He just thinks that it's the priority of enough people to get them over the line at the next election. It's my number one priority. You think he cares about small votes? Labour's leader, deputy leader rather, Angela Rayner, said Jacob Smugg's admission that this shabby scheme was designed to rig the rules to lock voters out revealed the cold truth behind it. He knows the truth.
You're better informed than I am. I don't know anything.
He actually doesn't know anything. A Department for Levelling Up Housing and Communities spokesman said it's vital we keep our democracy secure. Yeah, locked up in the basement where it can't make any trouble. Making our democracy secure is our number one priority. What a way to run a country, eh?
Dreadful.
I can't believe it. Ollie says, Sir Mogg is not a top-hatted twiglet, he's a sir, and I can't believe the level of your disrespect for him. Sir Mogg holds tradition together while you spout far-left propaganda, says Ollie. I assume you're joking. Maidenhead, hello, Gary.
Oh, Nick, great show. I've just thought of something. I know one of the reasons why our food prices are so high.
Yes.
I've just thought of something that came into my head. I reckon Richie, when he's in his swimming pool, he must have a rubber dinghy in there and he practices with some sort of toy warship, turning the rubber dinghy round, do you know what I mean?
Yeah. As far as the rubber dinghy goes...
I am totally 100% on it.
He is totally 100% on it.
Yeah, that just sort of came... But, yeah, I found out something about Brexit tonight, but I did say to your producer, I also had a phone call, because I'm on Universal Credit. They rang me, and after I went through the security checks, like, you know, they won't just speak to you, even if they've rung you.
Yeah.
Right. They overpaid me £2.80.
£2.80.
And they're going to take it away out of my benefit next month.
Yes. It must have cost them £102.80 just to investigate your case.
Unbelievable, innit? But, yeah, the main thing is, I wanted to say, because I know, you know, you've got lots of listeners, I go to services in the evening because I think, you know, we've spoke before, I'm the chap that sleeps in the car.
Oh, yeah.
And I do know, like, my vehicles and that, and I parked up next to this Spanish lorry, this Arctic, and I noticed he had, like, not just refrigeration, but he had a tank with, like, pipes down the side, and when I come back out, he was still awake, so... And, you know, obviously with the hot weather and that, you know, the windows and that down. And luckily he spoke good English. And I said to him, you've got an unusual, like, you know, unit on the back. And he says, this is all because of Brexit. And I said, is it? And he goes, yeah, we run from southern Spain right the way up to the Midlands. And because of all the delays at Dover and that, all the vegetables are in open crates at the back, but every 2 hours, even though it's refrigerated, they spray them with preservatives.
What?
They shower them. And I said, what's all that for then? And he goes, because the delays are so bad, and he showed me the paperwork, all the forms.
Oh, you mean these forms that actually don't exist, according to government spokespersons?
I reckon that's probably why, I think you've said it before, the vegetables taste funny.
Well, it's not that the vegetables taste funny. I've always found that fruit, sometimes it just doesn't ripen. You leave it out in expectation of it going soft, like pears or, you know, nectarines, something like that. And you think they'll go soft, but they don't. They remain as hard as it would be required to bang a nail in the wall. And then they just immediately go off.
Well, like I say, he says that this is the only country where his company is invested in these units, that we actually have to spray the vegetables and the fruit as well as refrigerate them, and all that cost is what's making your food prices high.
Yeah. It's the gift that keeps on giving, ain't it? All right. Thanks for the bad news, Gary. Cheers, mate. 0345 6060 973. All over our fruit. Government officials actually have the nerve to tell business people who are complaining about how much red tape there is after Brexit that there is no red tape. It's a figment of their imagination. They think you're very, very stupid. With some justification in some cases. And because acting as though the public is stupid has paid off for them so far, they're going to continue doing it. If you feel that they are treating you like idiots, it's because just enough of us are acting like idiots. 0345 6060 973. Yeah, and the Bank of England is all over it. They're gripping it. Bank of England Governor Andrew Bailey told us poor dopes who pay taxes to stop demanding unsustainable pay rises after the Bank of England ramped up interest rates in a bid to supposedly curb inflation. Poor, penurious members of the public noted that the Bank of England Governor Andrew Bailey is on £597,592 a year and he can stick it. Telling us to stop demanding unsustainable pay rises, and he's on the best part of 600 grand a year, plus all the rest of it, no doubt. You believe that? The Bank of England Governor, Andrew Bailey, warned that the current level of wage settlements cannot continue as he defended heaping misery on mortgage payers by raising the base rate from 4.5% to 5%. Because, you know, the last time the rate rise went up, well, the last time they rose the... They raised the... Oh, no, well, never mind. If at first you don't succeed, keep doing the same thing over and over again, because that'll work. Speaking after the bombshell move, far bigger than the 0.25 percentage point hike that was expected, Andrew Bailey, out of the Bank of England, denied that he actively wanted to trigger a recession, but he made clear that he will do what is necessary to bring inflation back to 2%. 2%, which is about a quarter of where it is at the moment. And by doing what is necessary, he means doing what is necessary to you. He ain't going to get affected. Nobody he knows will be affected. The problem is these people can't possibly contemplate what it's like to go to bed at night worrying about money. They've got no idea what that is like. They imagine what it might be like for people who think, oh gosh, you know, that Volvo is a bit expensive with all those extras that I've loaded it with. Maybe I'll take off the ventilated seats. You know, because they're $5,000, so it's a bit much. Maybe I'll take off those. Still want the heated seats though. I mean, what kind of a fool doesn't want heated seats? And the heated steering wheel, well, that's a must, even though it does cost $3,000. But the ventilated, cooled seats, I think we can probably do without those. You know, we're tightening our belt. They've got no idea what it's like worrying about money. Waking up every morning, when there's a brief millisecond, when everything's okay. It lasts about a half a second, and then this dark cloud of worry parks itself over you again. Money. I have no idea. I mean, when people like this say...
I am totally 100% on it.
That means that they're totally 100% have not a clue what they're talking about. And it's not the workers, by the way, that are spending so much that they're driving up inflation. It's not people who are asking for unsustainable pay rises. like civil servants and junior doctors and so on. Because, I mean, I'm no economist, so correct me if I get any of this wrong, but they aren't producing something, the price of which rises when their wages rise. So how on earth are they increasing the rate of inflation? Because they're going out and spending a ton of money on stuff they don't need? Of course not. They can barely afford the food bill and the heating bill and the water bill and all of these bills that have been skyrocketing, which has absolutely nothing to do with their wages. Why has it always got to be the little people that pay for this stuff? Inflation is caused by Brexit and this government's catastrophic handling of the economy, which has coincidentally been absolutely great for the donor class. Ain't that right, Liz?
Absolutely.
Yeah, high wage settlements are among the factors that have been blamed for inflation. That's worse here than anywhere else in the world. But it's not the workers that are causing it. It's the companies that are profiteering. Water companies charging us for things that they should have spent billions on to fix, but gave it to shareholders instead. And it's not the NHS workers or civil servants creating inflation. They don't raise the price of the products and the services they provide when their wages go up. What's he talking about? God, I could be the governor of the Bank of England. Does it require any knowledge of economics at all? And if the last time you raised the level of interest rates and it didn't work, then why is doing it again the thing that's going to make it work? I suspect that the only reason that they keep doing this is that that's all they can do. And as for them being independent of government, well, please. I mean, if you believe that, then I've got a house on the edge of a cliff in Dover I'd like to sell you. High wage settlements are among the factors that have been blamed for the inflation. Asked whether people were asking for too much. Mr. Bailey, out of the Bank of England, says, let me be very clear on this because it's an important issue. We've got to get and will get inflation back to its target. We expect inflation to come down this year. To do that, we cannot continue to have the current level of wage increases, said a man who earns about £600,000 a year. So you must suffer, not him, not anyone he knows. It's always the poor and the put upon who have to pay.
The little people. But it ain't like you think. It ain't leprechauns, don't you see? It's little men from Mars or somewhere. And it ain't a toadstool they're under. It's a spaceship.
Which makes as much sense as anything else that you might have heard from the governor of the Bank of England. It says here, amid mounting panic in Tory circles, Fishy Sunak voiced support for the bank's tough action. He also tried to cool concerns with a folksy town hall event before promising the following.
I am totally 100% on it.
Yeah, he isn't. He dreamt up that response while relaxing on a solid gold lounger by the pool in the recreation wing of one of his vast homes.
I'm gripping it.
He isn't. 0345 6060 973. Friday, Saturday, Sunday night at 10. Nick Abbott, LBC.
LBC. Nick Abbott on LBC. Call 0345 6060 973.
Would you mind telling me what this is all about?
Well, it looks very much like, if you screwed your eyes up, it looks sort of like a class war. Chris says we are closer in wealth to those that die at sea in rubber dinghies, yet we see ourselves more in those that died in the sub, even though they were astronomically more wealthy than us. That's true. That's because the people that died at sea in rubber dinghies, they were unfortunate in life, and we can't imagine ourselves in that position because in order to remove ourselves from the notion that bad luck can happen to us, we don't term it bad luck. We try to blame those who are unlucky for that luck. Even if you don't want to do it, there's a part of you that does it. You walk past somebody who's sleeping in a shoe shop doorway, and we think, well, they probably drank too much, or they took too many drugs, or they were, were stupid and they got thrown out of their house for misbehaviour or something like that. It's their fault. You might not voice that out loud, but there is a part of you that thinks that. And the reason you do it is to remove the possibility of you being one of those people from your mind. Because you wouldn't drink too much. You wouldn't take drugs that would end you up in a shoe shop doorway. You're not that stupid. So, that's just part of human nature, that is. And the other side of that is that you imagine that you will at some point become wealthy. I mean, that's why you buy a lottery ticket, right? Isn't it always something of a surprise, just a tiny bit surprising, that you don't win every single week? You lose. It's a little bit surprising. 0345. I mean, it makes absolutely no sense if you think about it for more than a second, but, it's instinctual. It's within us. Sandbach, John.
Yeah.
Yes, John.
I agree with everything you've been saying. What you've just said is there but for the grace of God go I.
Right.
Why are we governed like a third world country and always seem to have been? Like we're all a bunch of peasants, and we're doing you a favour, and stick with us, and we'll put you right.
Well, I mean, because it works. It works, doesn't it?
It does. It really does work.
I mean, when I say works, it doesn't work for us. It works for them. Why change a winning formula?
Yeah, why change a winning formula when these people are stupid enough to suck it all in and they just absorb. We just absorb everything, and well, they've said it, so it must be true. No, it's not true. And what is it? Interest rates. Is that the only answer they've got?
Yes.
Keep ramping up interest rates.
It actually is. That's all they have. Yeah.
They've got no alternative. They've got no other idea.
Well, the alternative is to not do that, which would make more sense to me, but then that is because I am not an expert.
There must be other economists who can say, no, that's not the way to go.
Because it seems to me that raising interest rates is actually increasing the rate of inflation in and of itself. I mean, how could it not be? But the idea is, sorry to interrupt you, but the idea is that people will spend less because they have to spend more on, keeping a roof over their head. But people aren't going out there chucking money around like drunken sailors. They're barely being able. They can barely afford to get by as it is. Why is making life more difficult something that is going to actually reap benefits for the very same people? It makes no sense to me.
Let's make them suffer.
Yeah.
And the more they suffer, the more they won't spend any money. And they're the lucky ones. The other ones, well, they can go and jump in the lake.
Right.
But it's crazy, absolutely crazy.
Yeah, makes no sense to me. All right, thanks, John. 0345 6060 973. Yeah, I really don't. I genuinely don't get it. The Bank of England is. They're not alone. As far as central banks go, but they're raising interest rates in order to make you spend less money. But correct me if I'm wrong, you're not going out and spending money on stuff you don't need. This isn't discretionary spending. You're spending money on essentials. Gas, electricity, food, transport, a roof over your head. What else can you afford? I mean, practically nothing these days. So what are you going to cut back on? Food? The basic premise of their idea to curb inflation by raising interest rates, I just don't understand it. I very much doubt that they do either. They're just doing it because, what else can they do? Can't do anything. That's the only thing at their disposal. And if they didn't do that, if they didn't do anything at all, people would think, well, why are we paying this guy £600,000 a year? Why are we spending £600,000 a year on these people, each? If that's all they can do. I could do that. You could train a dog to do that. You'll just raise interest rates. And it might not have worked before, and it might not have worked anywhere it's ever been tried, but, we'll just keep doing the same thing over and over because, that will become efficacious eventually. eventually inflation will go down, and they'll claim success, whereas it might not have anything to do with them. And Fishy Sunak, particularly, he's listed it as one of his top priorities. It's my number one priority. Now, his number one priority is to lower inflation, which is going to lower anyway, of its own volition, eventually. And then he can claim, great success. It was all because of me and my top priority. Nothing makes sense to me anymore. Rose, Plymouth. Hello, Rose.
Oh, well, I'm not in Plymouth. You see, I rang another show earlier and they made me say town. But listen, I'm trying to exercise restraint, but
yes.
I'm not phoning so often, but it doesn't come easy to me to exercise restraint.
Of course not.
And I've now got 4 things to say. This country, this nation, what they've done to it, they've turned it into a trough, a vast trough. That's all it is for corporations and the billionaires to satiate themselves from.
Yes.
And no, they do not care about anything except their own advancement. And the important thing is that the rest of us realise this and stop thinking that they're trying to do anything for the country. And finally, well, it's not finally at all.
Finally? I thought you said 4. That was 1.
4 things, yes, that's right. Is it? Well, you put me off my stroke now. The PM's priority, Nick, should be to take care of the people.
Yes.
And don't give me this stuff about he can't imagine what it's like to be poor. It's an exercise of the mind. He's got a mind, and his job is to give it thought and think, what is it like to wake up in the morning and worry that you can't
and I'm sorry,
feed
but
your
until
children? Clement Attlee managed it, and so did Harold Macmillan.
Well, until you've actually been in that position, I just don't think that you can contemplate how awful it is to be worried about money, because it's a worry that never leaves. It's with you all the time.
Yes, all right. I mean, you won't be able to fully imagine it. But, I mean, what do you think great literature is about? It's about us reading, thinking, oh, God, yeah, that's how that would feel. Yeah. And it's his job to imagine. That's what our brains are for. He can imagine other things. He can imagine what it'd be like to be burgled, even if he hasn't been. I mean, it's appalling. The thing is, Nick, they're a total moral vacuum.
Yes.
Just you quoting what Mogg said, it makes you realise. They have no care or value for anything except their own self-advancement and money. And what I actually wanted to... Sorry, I mustn't keep banging on, but...
No, bang on.
Well, the thing is... going right back to the start of the show, I just had to say how utterly shocking I found these two boats, for want of a better word. I mean, we were feeling that these 5 men stuck down there were going to be facing slow asphyxiation, waiting for this oxygen to run out. And it's the most appalling, horrific thought imaginable. They are imagination. And then I suddenly thought, hang on, days ago, weren't there hundreds of women and children in the lower part, below deck, in this fishing vessel, suffering exactly the same thing?
Yes.
Where the hell has that gone off the news?
Well, there was another one.
I mean, there was
another one
it's absolutely outrageous.
There was another one, Rose, another boat that capsized on the way to the Canary Islands, and I bet you didn't even hear about that one. Dozens of people feared dead in that one, and that news just got completely disappeared by the by this tsunami coverage of the Titanic submersible. But the reason for that, Rose, as you must know, and I'm sorry, I'm going to have to leave it there because I'm past the news. The reason is because poor lives don't matter. That's just true. Thanks, Rose. 0345 6060 973, just past 11:30 on LBC. The news headlines with Darryl Jackson.
Leading Britain's conversation, Nick Abbot. Alexa, send a comment to LBC.
Listen to him. He knows everything.
David texts, apparently there is a coup attempt going on in Russia right now. Enjoy your weekend. Yeah, sure, why not? Coup fears in Russia. Head of Wagner Group brands Putin's army chiefs evil who must be stopped and launches March for Justice towards Moscow. Kremlin kills hundreds of his troops in airstrikes and vows to put down armed mutiny. Now, keep in mind that all this is in the fog of war, and we have absolutely no idea whether any of this is true or not. But the story is the chief of the Wagner mercenary group was called for a coup after claiming hundreds of his mercenaries were killed by Kremlin missile strikes, with Moscow now vowing to crack down on the armed mutiny. Evgeny Prigozhin announced his army will march for justice and wage a revenge attack to stop the evil of the Russian military high command after he shared a video which he claimed showed his bases being bombed. So, it's no small thing. If you can't win a war against Ukraine, then start a war with yourself. After all, what could possibly go wrong? 0345 6060 973. Guildford. Hello, Peter.
Hello, Nick. How are you?
Great, mate.
What's so sad, is the fact that ordinary people vote for rich people to run the country, and then they're surprised when things don't really change and they don't benefit from it.
Yes.
It's really... and as a result, what they've done is given them a licence to do what they like.
Well, I have forgotten the number of times, Peter, when I have been told at great volume that people knew what they were voting for.
Well, they don't, do they? How can you vote? The Tory party is for low taxes, low regulation, and a small state. Yeah. That tells you in itself what they're all about.
But it's an attractive premise, that low tax part. What people forget is that if you don't earn an enormous amount of money, then a 1 or 2% reduction in taxation won't really affect you at all. What will affect you is the reduction in government spending that comes from the smaller amount of money that they pull in tax. This safety net that a government of a well-run country would provide for its citizens, the removal of that will affect you. If they just reduce the taxation rate by 1%, if you're on an ordinary wage, it probably won't affect you at all.
That's right. It's public services that matter to ordinary people.
Yeah.
And that's why we should be paying our nurses and doctors and all the other public sector staff a decent wage. But, of course, the Tories don't believe in the public sector.
Well, they don't use it.
No, they don't. Why would people imagine that people in the Tory party's position are going to care about state schools or the NHS, like you say, when they do not use it? They don't give a damn about it. And what it's become is a cesspit, really, where you've got the rich are taking the mickey out of everyone. And then they talk, like you said earlier, about this interest rates. It makes no sense whatsoever. The real problem are the high, to my mind, the high gas prices, high basic services and that. Why don't they address that? They won't address that because it's their mates that are making the money.
It's also government policy. Brexit is one of the reasons that we have the highest inflation rate of any major economy. I mean, the US inflation rate is 2.7%. Ours is 8.7%. Nowhere in Europe is worse than we are of a major economy. 8.7% here. France is 6%. Germany 6.3%. We're way, way more expensive. Our food inflation rate is 18.4%. You'll have noticed that if you've been to a supermarket lately.
Yeah, you
18.4%.
Yeah, you
Good
do.
grief. And the reason? Brexit. Why is it more expensive here than anywhere else? It's not COVID. Everyone had COVID. It's not Ukraine. Everyone experiences Ukraine in the same way. It's Brexit, and the government refuses to fix Brexit or even contemplate renegotiating it to our benefit because it would it flies in the face of their very their very essence, their attraction to the public in their minds is that they got Brexit done. So that it's finished, it's over. We're pretending it's not having any effect. And anybody that says otherwise, a company, a small business that says, well, we're just drowning in red tape here. You get some government bod going on television and denying the truth, telling them that there is no such thing as a mountain of red tape when they know that there is. Gaslighting on steroids. Painful.
Is it true that the elections are basically decided by floating voters? Because if it is, you see these programmes, say like Newsnight, where they have a group of people in a room, and they don't really have a clue about politics at all. As an example, I remember they were showing leaders once, and they showed Rebecca Long Bailey, right? Mm-hmm. Who's a nice lady, and this bloke said, "Oh, I wouldn't like to meet her in a dark alley."
Yes,
and I
exactly.
It's not you people that are already committed to Liberal, Labour, Tory, whatever that decide it. It's the people that are that. I'm not saying that people are thick or anything, but it's the people who don't take the interest in politics.
Nobody reads the manifesto. They just look at the person and think, do I like this man or woman? Jeremy Corbyn, they thought. No, they read too much in too many newspapers that Jeremy Corbyn is the devil incarnate, so they're not going to vote for him regardless of what he proposes, even if their lives would be significantly better under a Jeremy Corbyn premiership.
That's what's so sad about it. They're not looking at policies.
No, we're easily distracted, which is why Rishi Sunak keeps going on about the boats.
Because Keir Starmer hasn't got any kind of beliefs or personality, my worry is that these very same people that don't seem to know anything about politics, through their own choice, the election's going to be based on whether they like Rishi or whether they like Starmer, and that is crazy.
It is. People will say, and I've heard it so many times, it's just painful. They say, well, it's dreadful here, and my feet are on fire, and the government took my roof away, but it wouldn't be any better under Labour.
I know, it's ludicrous.
Which is just, it's just fantastically stupid thing to say. Well, why don't you just look back at how it used to be under the previous Labour government? They'll say, well, the NHS, the Labour can't run the NHS. When they finished their little tour of duty, the Labour Party, last time around, 2010, the NHS had record approval ratings. Record low waiting lists, and now look at it after 13 years of safe in their hands.
Well, I just think I honestly believe they are running it down. That's why they don't want to put up increase the nurses' salaries.
No, it suits them down to the ground.
They don't want it to succeed. They want people to say, oh, well, the NHS, it's a failure. It's just a bit like the old British Rail when people took the mickey out of British Rail. It's a bit like, they want people to say, oh, well, it's useless. And then someone will come along one day and say, I know, let's privatise it. And
it's happened already. It's happened already. They just haven't said that phrase out loud, but it's happening. And just think, what have they got left to sell? Nothing. Once a country sells its water, there's nothing left to sell.
Yeah, that's true. There is nothing. There's absolutely nothing after that. But I think what they're trying to do is demoralise the public and the staff so much that when someone, like you said, I'm already saying it, hoping that people say, well, I don't care who runs it, as long as it, and that's the road they go down. But my God, I thought Thatcher was bad, but God almighty, this one's a bad government, and it's grossly incompetent at the same time.
Yes, it's like the worst of all worlds. Peter, I'm going to have to go, but thanks for that. It's why Rishi Sunak keeps going on about the boats.
The country's priority is to stop the boats.
It's stop the boats. Then the country's priority is not to stop the boats. That's just a tiny section of the country who he is concentrating on because he wants their votes. Because they made this calculation that if you can get just enough people to believe that the country's party is the boats, then they will vote for you. And they will absolutely, definitely, and 100% come out to vote. Because there is a certain number of people who have identified that as their top party. It's just so cynical. And if they say it over and over and over again, then you will concentrate on the 40,000 people that come here, which is 5% of those who arrived last year, and not the 95% who arrived in other ways, government-approved ways. Concentrating on the 5% and ignoring the 95% is dissemination of misinformation. And telling you that it is your party is just flat out lying to you. But that's the calculation. They're very, very good at winning elections. Don't count them out. 0345 6060 973. Text 84850. Email nick@lbc.co.uk. And if you're on Twitter, it's at LBC. Friday, Saturday, Sunday night at 10. Nick Abbott, LBC.
Leading Britain's conversation. Nick Abbott. Alexa, send a comment to LBC.
So they opened their big mouths and out came talk. Talk, talk.
0345 6060 973. Kent. Hello, Terry.
Oh, hi, Nick. How are you?
Good, thanks.
I need to ask your advice on something.
Yes. The doctor is in.
This is not for me, but I do need your advice. I'm presently going through chemo, and I've been told that I could well lose my hair.
Yeah.
What I want your advice about is, do you think I should write to Michael Fabricant see if he can recommend a good wig maker?
Yes, I think that's an excellent idea, Terry.
Or a spaghetti chef, maybe.
Yeah. Yeah. If you're passing one of those restaurants that puts plastic replicas of their food in the window, then just pop in and ask for a plate of plastic spaghetti, Terry, and that'll do the job lovely.
One other thing I wanted to ask you.
Yeah.
And I hope you haven't. Have you had any more dreams of the Bodge?
Of Boris Johnson?
Yeah. Wait.
No, I have not. I do remember a detail that I forgot to pass on, though. I had a dream of about me and Boris Johnson. Boris Johnson brought me into his office and demanded that I stop making fun of him, otherwise he was going to break my legs and stamp on my head. And this is true. I mean, the part... He didn't actually do that, but it's true that it happened in my dream. And the part that I left out was that I thought that I should be recording this on my phone because nobody will believe me and I need some sort of evidence. And so after getting up and dealing with something that was actually happening in real life, some bird in real life was banging on the roof above the bedroom. And I was conscious of this while asleep, and so it sort of entered my dream. And so I was dealing with that, and as I was coming back from the window, I thought, I wish I'd learned how to upload directly to the cloud recordings, because if I record it on my phone, then MI5 is going to search me going out, and they're going to delete the evidence from my phone. I actually thought all of this in my dream. How bizarre.
Well... You see, I did get a bit concerned about you at the end.
Right.
When you were worrying about MI5.
Yeah.
And I was beginning to worry that you were going to side with Dottie Dorries about sinister forces at work.
Yeah, well, no doubt there are sinister forces at work. The other thing that occurred to me, Terry, was that perhaps it actually did happen and they drugged me to make me think that it was a dream.
No, you're going down the rabbit hole.
Yeah, I guess so. Yeah, I must have eaten the blue pill, and I should have taken the red one, or the other way around. I can't remember. Next time I'm going to take them both at the same time and go purple. Groovy. All right. Well, I wish you all the best. Thanks a lot, Terry.
All right, thanks, Nick.
Cheers, my dear. 0345 6060 973. Martin texts, at the dispatch box, Starmer looks and sounds more like our leader. Sunak looks and sounds more like a squeaky little mouse. Maybe he identifies as a mouse. Well, that's a good point. I just don't believe him. I don't believe him in his current role. And I don't know why he's doing it. Why is he doing it? I mean, did you ever stop to think, why is a man who's worth hundreds of millions of pounds, who's married to a woman who's worth billions of pounds, why is he doing this? I mean, it's not to benefit the nation, is it? I mean, that's just the very idea. He's not doing it for our benefit. He hasn't spent his entire life thinking, how can I do good for the public of Great Britain? Has he? So what's he doing it for? Did you ever wonder about that? What's in it for him? Just curious, aren't you? I mean, what is his number one priority? Do you ever wonder about that? 0345 6060 973. I mean, other than he's just another face that they stick at the front of the stage while the evil machinations keep churning away in the background. If you didn't like Bodger, well, try somebody else. And if you don't like that person, well, try somebody else and try somebody else. Whereas the actual mission remains the same. It's just the face keeps changing. Because he doesn't need the money, I just wonder what's in it for him. Why is he doing this? For our benefit? Do me a favour. 0345 6060 973. Let's have a call in Merthyr Tydfil. Hello, Jeff.
Well, Nick, how are you?
I am super. Thanks for asking.
Good. It's been a bit of time since I've had a chance to speak to you, but
yes.
Good. Very interesting to find out that it's illegal to raise the European flag.
Yes.
which I found rather strange.
On a government building. Cannot be done.
Yeah.
No, against the law.
And then it was pointed out that programme last night with all these angry Brexit winners.
Yes, the winners,
They absolutely gone. Well, one of the most, I was thinking to myself, one of the most apoplectic, raging, lunatic ones is because all these angry winners down this neck of the woods are called Tories. And the leader of the Welsh Tories is one of the most apoplectic that you can ever come across. Permanently angry.
Right.
And I don't know if you ever come across him in your travels, but there he is in the Senedd, ranting and raving. Anyway, he's keeping the business. Do you remember they've renamed the Brecon-Beacons to Banau Brycheiniog?
Everything in Wales is called something in Welsh and something in English. What's the difference? I don't get it.
Well, the thing is, I speak Welsh, I live here, and, it's to do with the reservation. We are like, the Indians of America, in the sense we live on the reservation and we like to speak Welsh. But anyway, and I've told you about the absolute carnage and devastation caused by these bilingual road signs. But apart from that,
having driven in Wales quite a bit lately, I do know that at first it is somewhat confusing because you as an English speaking, I mean, all I speak is English, and and I don't even do that very well. But if you read the road signs, it just looks like letters that have been randomly picked out of a Scrabble bag. To a non-Welsh speaker until you remember to read the bit underneath, which is the English part.
Well, the thing is, it's the oldest language in Europe, apparently, still spoken. So it's something to be worth pursuing.
Well, now, Jeff, do young people speak Welsh, or is it just the old people?
We have a whole education system in the Welsh language.
Yeah, I know you do, and some schools are specifically Welsh-speaking. But in their real life, outside of school, do young people speak Welsh to each other or English?
That's interesting. It depends on the child, and it depends on the circumstances and where they are.
But if you had to put a demographic to people who speak Welsh, would it be older people? Is the language being kept alive by the older generation, or is there a whole new generation of Welsh-speaking kids coming up who would speak Welsh to each other outside of school?
Yes, there is. My kids went to a Welsh school. The thing is, the education system and young people are saving the Welsh language.
Right.
This is one of the biggest youth festivals in Europe. Is the Eisteddfod.
Right.
And the Urdd Eisteddfod is for young people, and it's an absolutely fabulous thing. It's a tremendous thing,
But that's less speaking it than singing it, isn't it? Which is kind of different.
Well, no, it is a lingua franca. Then it is used as a means of communication.
Right.
I mean, it's not something that's died. It's something that is living and growing.
Well, I think it's worth keeping, and if you don't continue to work at keeping something like that, then it will just fade away. So, I'm all for it.
Yeah. Oh, just before you go,
yeah,
they're still stealing coal from Frostafan.
Is that right? Okay, glad to hear it.
Keep it in the picture.
All right. The more things change, the more they stay the same. All right. Good to know. Thanks, Jeff. 0345 6060 973. Text 84850. Email nick@lbc.co.uk. And if you're on Twitter, it's @LBC. Hey, you want to know how to get a GP appointment within 30 minutes? Somebody's just told me how, but you won't like it.
On your radio, on Global Player, and
Play LBC.
Leading Britain's conversation. This is LBC. This is LBC from Global. Leading Britain's conversation with Nick Abbot.
Are you trying to be funny? Because I'm all out of laugh.
I am not one of your fans!
Okay, I have detailed information. I've got detailed files on how to get a GP surgery appointment within 30 minutes. Would you like to know how?
Yes.
You're not going to like it. James texts, I've just returned from Sydney visiting my brother who lives there. I was a little poorly and I needed to visit a doctor. We went to his local GP surgery. I got an appointment within 30 minutes. The GP was from London and trained with the NHS in the UK. The nurse was British and NHS trained. He says clearly the best way to get a GP appointment on the NHS is to go to Australia. Was this the part of the trade deal with Australia which the Aussies are still laughing about? No, that's an extra, James. That's an extra. Still, I'm sure it's safe in their hands. Carmarthen. Hello, Mike.
Hey, how you doing, Nick?
Good, thanks.
Nick, I'm just going back to the that submersible. You don't really believe it's about rich people interested in that, and people not interested in poor people, do you?
Do I believe that, the coverage?
Yeah.
Yes. I mean, partly it's because it's the Titanic, which is which is always newsworthy. It's the world's most famous boat ever. And partly because people could get involved in a sort of drama. It didn't all happen at once. It wasn't presented to us as this is what has already happened. It was presented to us as this is an ongoing
exactly.
drama. Right.
Exactly. I don't think it's really got anything to do with it's that's the reason for the coverage is because it's about rich people. And I heard what you said about people can fancy themselves as being rich and put themselves in their shoes. But we hear about migrant boat crossings. We've been hearing about them for decades, and they're in the news so frequently. And people are protesting against them on the shores of Dover and spotting them.
But
and
not many.
So many of them.
Many flip over and hundreds die.
No, but I think if you combine all the small ones, you'd probably be, hundreds have perished over a number of years.
Right. So what you're describing is less an interest in what's rich and poor, and more, are we bored of this story?
Exactly. And this is deep sea exploration. It's a submarine. It's different, and like you said, it's minute by minute. It's being, no one's quite sure what's happening. It's piquing the nation. It's something else to talk about, isn't it?
Do you think that, though, if a mega yacht, a billionaire's mega yacht, had flipped upside down with the loss of, say it was having a party of billionaires, say it was, Elon Musk's mega yacht, and a party of Hollywood millionaires and billionaires were all there, and it flipped upside down on the ocean. Do you think that we would not have heard much about it, or we would have done? Because it's a boat that flips over, not a submarine, nothing to do with the Titanic. Yeah.
You would definitely have done.
Right, because they're rich and famous.
People have an interest in famous actors, and people have an interest in, people that are making history, and people they see on the news, they're celebrities, people want to know what's going on.
But they don't care about poor people that they've never heard of.
But you say that, I mean, a few years ago, was it 2015 when that lorry full of immigrants in the back, they found had all suffocated, that was in the news for days. So they're all poor people, no one knew anything about them, but there was plenty of news coverage. I don't think it's necessarily as black and white as it's people aren't interested in poor people. I just think...
If a poor person who is homeless dies, would you hear about it in the news? No. If a billionaire who is a drug addict dies in the empty mansion that they've been essentially squatting in, if they die, you will hear about it over and over again. And there'll be long stories about how this person fell from grace and the terrible... fortune, the lack of luck that this family has experienced, and it'll just go on and on and on.
Yeah, but that billionaire or that famous, the difference is they're famous.
No, not famous.
People know.
Not famous.
If it was a billionaire that nobody knew, that would have lots of news coverage.
Absolutely. Yeah, because the money is the thing. I mean, look at dramas on television. Are we interested in the plight of poor people? No, most dramas on television are about the rich because that's what people are interested in.
Yeah.
I mean, what's the biggest drama this year? Succession. Billionaires. Is there a drama about a father who runs a chip shop, giving it to his kids and trying to decide which kid is going to get to run the fish shop when he's dead? No, of course not. Nobody's remotely interested because it doesn't have a lot of money.
Oh, it's just such a cynical point. I don't know. I don't agree with it.
All right. Well, we'll just have to.
And you shouldn't mock. Rishi. Not that I'm a Conservative supporter, but
I shouldn't mock him.
I shouldn't mock anyone. The way he says is I can't remember what he said. It's not strategy. There's a particular word that you pronounce very strongly.
Well, he started it.
It's the country's number one priority. It's my number one priority up and down the country, and that will be our focus.
He's gripping it. All right, thanks a lot, Mike. 0345 6060 973. I must keep that in mind. No mocking. But we just have to sit here and take it over and over again. But don't mock them because that will make them upset. Paul says Mayor Khan should have flown the skull and crossbones for the benefit of the Brexit privateers who funded the caper. Well, that is true, yeah. Still don't know where all that money came from. It's like the stealing of democracy to me. Dave says a new report says 2 million UK citizens are now on antidepressants. Another milestone for Rishi to be proud of. On antidepressants, with the whinging and the moaning and the whining. Hey, I used to have that. Where did that go? Somebody's been screwing around with my sound effects. Some of them are all over the place. What happened there? Not that I'm complaining or anything.
Stop whining.
0345 6060 973. Let's have a call in. See who's been waiting the longest. Be totally fair about this. Camden. Hello, Ellie.
Oh, hi, Nick.
Ellie.
Long time no talk.
Haven't I been lucky?
Is that real?
Is what real?
Do you mean that?
Do I mean what?
I'd like to say 3 things.
A couple of 3 things.
Yes. First of all, I really think it was very trusting of you to trust us with your hypnagogic / superconscious dream.
My what now?
Hypnagogic superconscious dream.
My hypnagogic superconscious dream. Wasn't that an album by Hawkwind? I'm pretty sure it was.
Probably. But anyway, that's what it's called, and you should take notice of it. The second thing...
Hypnagogic subconscious dream.
Superconscious.
Yeah, whatever. Mm-hmm.
Hypnagogic and superconscious. Get your glamorous assistant to work on that.
I absolutely will not do anything of the sort.
All right.
Carry on.
Don't agree with me. You do it on principle, I'm sure. The second thing is, I'm really, really pleased that Rose has been holding the fort, while most of the other women who listen to you regularly have just been too gobsmacked, including myself.
I smacked your gob.
And stop it. And I'm glad that Cindy is back. So I just want them to know that they are appreciated as much as the guys are.
Yeah, we appreciate it.
Thank you. We've all been away for a while.
Yeah.
And the third thing is, how I cope with Rishi Sunak is, I think I spoke to you about 18 months ago, and I explained how I cope with Boris, which is I don't watch television, so I only hear their voices. And how I used to cope with Boris was to pretend he was wearing bobber boots, which are boots with steel tips, with which you kick hell out of people.
Yes.
So that was how I didn't fall for his narrative. And how I cope with Rishi is I imagine him wearing granny glasses, which my sister wore as a kid and hated, and John Lennon wore and hated. Yeah. And it just seems to typify who he really is.
Yeah, I don't know about that.
Who says I'm on it? I mean, Dylan Moran takes the mickey. He's a really brilliant writer. And he says things like getting down with the homies. But you know that he's taking the mick. This guy's saying stuff like that for real, as if we believe him.
Well, he's saying just what he's been programmed to say by his assistants who run focus groups. I imagine that is exactly what is happening. I don't think for a second that his number one priority is stopping the boats. I don't imagine that he would give it a second's thought. He didn't care about any of that, but he thinks that you do.
No, he's in it. He's in it to make his name on the world stage.
No, I don't buy that at all. He wants to be famous? No.
Yeah, well, you can be a famous rich boy, but making your name on the world stage can get you through a lot of tight corners if things go pear-shaped.
Right.
And you can't tell me things aren't a bit pear-shaped.
Yes, they are. He isn't. There's nothing pear-shaped about him, like a toothpick he is. But look at those eyes. Oh, it's those dark pools. Isn't he an absolute dream? I want to know why he's doing it, don't you? Thanks a lot, Ellie. 0345 6060 973. Maybe he's got shares in antidepressants. 2 million UK citizens are now on antidepressants. I can't believe it.
Whinging and whining and moaning.
Mel texts, please don't tar all of us in Clacton with the same brush. Some of us voted Remain. Well, not remotely enough, Mel. This is because of the question time. They rocked up. What a horrible phrase that is. Only used by those who are too old to use it, who think they're being hip and with it. Rocked up. You see it in papers written by middle-aged people that say, such and such is rocking a suit. No, they aren't. They're wearing it. Don't tar us all with the same brush. Yeah, question time went to Clacton, and we got an idea of why it is that some of the good people of Clacton were so vociferous about their demand to leave the European Union. The ew. And most famously, to this point, one of the two clips that I saw was that nice lady who said that the reason that she voted to leave the European Union was that in this country we have to do health and safety. When you go up on a roof, there's all this health and safety stuff that we have to do in this country because of the European Union insisting that we be safe on roofs. Whereas if you go to France and Germany, people can go up on a roof with nothing, she said, which was the reason that she voted to leave the European Union. I'll sum up that argument for you. I mean, it's just... it's painful to behold, ain't it? And the other guy said, for some strange reason, he appears to be claiming that he follows people who arrive in a small boat from the moment that they arrive on the shore, and then he follows them directly to the benefits office where they make a claim. He's seen it with his own eyes, apparently, if you can believe that. 0345 6060 973. Red Hill. Hello, Nigel.
Oh, good evening, Nick. It's
Right.
a long time since I spoke. I've got
Nigel.
an idea. Hello, can
Yes,
you hear
sir.
me?
Go ahead.
Yeah. I've got an idea about the interest rates. It's to frighten people, yes? Okay, so the Tories, we know the definition of that word. So basically, they have to pay all the money back and the Crown will run the country. This is a beautiful country. I mean, it's beyond jokes. I don't know what interest rates. They're going to frighten everybody. You know, you just what you said last minute, they do it, and everyone vote Tory. You know, it's ridiculous. So the Tories will have to pay all the money back to the Crown. Basically, it's a beautiful country, and it will be run by the Crown, so to speak. So Tories, I don't mind. They have to pay all the money back. Yes, that's right. Put it in circulation. Then whoever, descendants of His Majesty, will organise everything. The beautiful country, Wales. I heard about that one. And this one is to the centre, and also it's pretty of a bit that got lost. You know, they'll pay it back. So,
Well, you really are making a lot of sense, Nigel.
Thank you very much for that.
Okay. Appreciate it. Could you put that in an email? 0345 6060 973. Friday, Saturday, Sunday night at 10. Nick Abbott, LBC.
LBC. Leading Britain's conversation. Nick Abbott. Alexa, send a comment to LBC.
And I can't stand him.
Kirsty texts, hello everyone, the French want to leave the European Union. The French government won't give the population a referendum on whether to leave the EU, and we want to go back in. Wake up and smell the coffee. Well, I don't know what you've been drinking, Kirsty. Booze. But it ain't coffee. What are you talking about? The French don't want to leave the European Union. The French aren't remotely interested in leaving the European Union. They did, in fact, just do a survey about leaving the European Union, and the French have said no, 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 no.
No, 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 no.
In French. I have detailed files. I'm getting a bit late to be getting into that. 62% of respondents in France said that they would vote to, if they were asked, they would vote to remain in the European Union. 62%. And that, by the way, was about the lowest number in the whole of the EU. Every other country would have voted, if they were asked, would have voted with a larger percentage to stay in the European Union. Because they've seen what's happened to this country with our precious Brexit. And they thought, non, nine, niet, and, no in other languages are available. I just don't know them, that's all. Let's have a call in Epping. Carol.
Oh, hi.
Carol.
Yeah, so I was just prompted to call because you had somebody before from Wales, and he was talking about the Welsh language and saying that it was the oldest language in Europe. And I thought, well, no, it's not. the oldest language in Europe is probably coming from the oldest people in Europe, and the oldest people in Europe are the Basques from the Basque Country, which is northern Spain, southern France, and they are kind of like, they were kind of almost coming from the Stone Age, really. And during the
that's the most racist thing I've ever heard.
No, my husband is one, so I can say that. And they've got tons of cave paintings and caves, and you go there and it's just tons and tons of this really ancient stuff. Right. But anyway, they can trace their ancestry actually going beyond whenever, but actually coming here. So in the Ice Age, when the ice all went covered everywhere, but it went all the way down across, France, and it stopped at the Basque Country. And so then when the actual ice that retreated, the people to travel after it were Basque hunters. So consequently, the first people in the country, the UK and all around here, were the Basques.
Right, we are, in fact, a nation of Baskers.
Yeah, Baskers. And so the Stephen Oppenheimer, who is a professor from Cambridge, Oxford, he's actually done some research into the DNA of people in the UK, and a big percentage of it is Basque. So if you want to know who the original Britons were before the Saxons and the Romans and the Normans and everything, it was the Basques.
Baskers.
Baskers.
Wow, this is an education, this show, no?
No.
If only I had been paying attention to what you just said, I might have learned something. All right, excellent work there, Carol. Thanks for that. 0345 6060 973. I was in danger of learning something about history for a moment there until I remembered that I'm allergic to history and learning things. Wayne says, I voted Labour all my life, but I can't see any differences and I'm not sure what Labour have to offer different from the Conservatives. Oh, my God. That, Wayne, is because you have not done your research. He says, I'm a Leaver and I voted Leave as we were giving billions away and nor getting anything back, and I want our public toilets back and the money we sent over there we can reinvest in our public services. Okay. I don't know. Can I assume that he's joking? He finishes, you watch it, Nick, change is coming soon, which sounds like he's threatening me. Are you threatening me? Message coming from next door. He's not. I looked at his old texts. So Wayne is serious about this. He's a Leaver and he voted Leave as we are giving billions away and nor getting anything back. And I want our public toilets back, and the money we sent over there we can reinvest in our public services. Or in other words, see, this is where we are now. Wake up, sheeple. It's later than you think. 0345 6060 973. Are you beginning to get the feeling that we've been had, that we are being led by whoever shouts the loudest, which aren't necessarily the same people as the smartest? The more noise people make, quite often the less intelligent they are. Einstein never yelled at anyone across a car park, for instance. Manchester, hello, Julia.
Oh, hello, Nick. How are you?
I'm great, mate.
Right. All I wanted to say, when you was asking about why is Rishi Sunak doing this?
Yes.
I don't know how much a Prime Minister gets paid, but I think it's 100,000 a year.
Yeah, chicken feed.
It's pocket money for him.
Yeah, he doesn't need it.
Would he buy his shoes with it? What would it be, a shirt? I just think that in his position, he's getting to know all future plans for everywhere.
There must be something that is not that you can't read on the surface. He must be pedaling furiously beneath the surface, because I do not believe him in this position of this this right-wing warrior who is desperate to stop the boats. I just don't believe it.
Well, neither do I, especially from his background. And the other thing is, I don't know what his father-in-law's business is, but any information you get over future plans for anything going, it gives you a bit of a leg up, doesn't it?
Well, I don't know what you're implying by that, Julia, but I think that you'll find it's probably a good idea to draw your curtains around about now, because men in dark overalls will be bursting through your windows and spraying the room with gunfire, in my imagination. I don't want to concern you, Julia, but you're in big trouble, huge. That is going on your permanent record. Thanks, Julia. 0345 6060 973. Rona texts, I saw a photo of the most insipid, limp and pathetic-looking portion of chips. It was being served up at Glastonbury. How much do you reckon they were charging? £8.
What?
£8. I doubt it was even a whole potato, says Rona. A Brexit bonus. £8 for a portion of chips. I mean, just the very idea that you can get chips at Glastonbury seems weird to me. I first went, it were grand when I were a lad. I went to Glastonbury in 1982, first time, when there was, I don't know, maybe 30, 40,000 people there, tops. It was so small that you could park your car in the same field that the pyramid stage was in. And you could camp next to your car. These days, you pretty much need a bus to get from the main site to where your car is parked in the next county. And at that time, there were no double-decker buses selling chips and pizza and all of that stuff. It was earth women who dug ovens in the ground. Do you dig an oven in the ground, or or some sort of? They lit a fire in the ground and then covered it with a fire pit. Yeah, kind of like a fire pit. The message coming from next door. But you sort of covered it over. I don't ask me. You'd have to ask an earth mother. And they made pies and falafel and all of that stuff. I have no idea what falafel is. I think it's like scrapings off the bottom of your shoe, something like that. That's what Glastonbury was to me, but now it's I don't know, it's just not the same. But every generation that goes there thinks the exact same thing. My favourite joke, because some years I didn't see any bands at all, just went to one of the best places to see comedy I've ever been to is at Glastonbury, because comedians can get away with so much more than you could get away with, in an ordinary venue. And the audience was very, very receptive, more so than they probably find in any comedy club anywhere. And Malcolm Hardy, who died in a boating accident, but not at Glastonbury. He said, he got on stage, he goes, I can remember when all this was just fields. 0345 6060 973. Text 84850. Email nick@lbc.co.uk. If you're on Twitter, it's @LBC. Friday, Saturday, Sunday night at 10. Nick Abbott, LBC. It's 12:30. The news headlines with Darryl Jackson.
This is LBC with Nick Abbott.
Do you mind if I say a few words? Thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Lucy texts, isn't freedom to fall off a roof a pretty concise summary of Britain's post-Brexit economy? I suppose so, yeah. That's in reference, of course, to the Question Time. That nice lady on Question Time. They had a Clacton Brexit special. And she explained that the reason that she voted to leave the European Union is because in this country we have to do health and safety when workers get on a roof. And in France and Germany, people go up on a roof with nothing. That was her explanation that she wanted for why she wanted to leave the European Union, which makes perfect sense. We're being led by that person. I mean, really. Freedom to fall off a roof. A pretty concise summary of Britain's post-Brexit economy. Yeah. I mean, it's another excellent reason not to go to Clacton, isn't it? For fear that you might bump into somebody like that. Clacton, being number one on my not-to-go list, is my number one priority. It's the nation. It should be your priority too. Gary says, forget that Sniffy told these school kids he was a coke addict. So I guess what he's on... What? Forget that Sniffy told those school kids he was a coke addict. Oh, yeah, I remember that. Yeah, he said he was an addict of coke.
I am totally 100% on it.
Yeah, on it. And the rest of it is gone because it's been deleted before I could get to the rest of that message. Never mind. Oh, yeah. Forget that Sniffy told those school kids he was a coke addict, so I guess that's what he is on. 100%, says Gary. Yeah, he claimed that he was on... that he liked Mexican Coca-Cola. Anyone believe that?
No.
No, not really. Joe emails, did you notice when Sticky Blue Tack gave his On It speech that his high-vis at that high-vis warehouse, he kept saying right all the time? I hate people who slip the word right into sentences as much as you hate people who say H instead of H. People who say right all the time are usually arrogant, self-aggrandizing Brexiters. Zahawi used to say it all the time. He probably still does. Now Sunak is doing it as well. It's generally people who are on the rabid right. Am I right? Says Joe, who inserted the word right far too many times in that email for me to keep reading it out all the time. But you get the idea. Edgware. Hello, Rita.
Hello.
Rita.
Yes. This is the first time I'm speaking to you, so I'm very nervous.
Ah.
But my mother is a huge fan.
How big is she?
Sorry?
She's huge, a huge fan. How big is she?
She is big in age.
Right.
And big in life.
In age? Hi, Mum.
Hi, Mum. She's listening to you right now.
Hi, Rita's mum.
She's in her, later than mid-70s and working full-time at a public service that was sold off. And she listens to you and she's always praising you.
Oh.
And I was just like, okay, and I fell onto your new thing right now.
Mm-hmm.
Can I give you a little bit of a background regarding all this stuff that's going on with interest rates and etc.? She is far too old to be working full-time nights.
Right.
She's supporting me because I'm disabled and I have a disabled child.
Right.
So she's going out there and trying to bring in the money.
Mm-hmm.
But we were both fools. Oh, you're going to hate me for this. We were both fools to sign up for Brexit, and it was only because my father in 2015 died in NHS and there was no doctors whilst he caught sepsis. So it's a tragic story, but we both voted for it thinking and listening to the liar and the lies and the lies.
And thinking that it would be £350 million a week for the NHS, which sounds like a good deal. I understand that.
But that was our vote.
Yeah.
And the regret and the desperation and the shame that we've both felt for doing that. And then seeing what's been happening progressively, she's still working. And as a disabled person with a disabled child, we've got absolutely no help. So, in my mind, it's like, okay, can we not, as a country, not be in denial? Can we not ask for a general election now?
I'm sorry. She expressed herself using builder's language. I was with you 100% there, Rita. But you just can't say that kind of thing on the radio, unfortunately. You can say it on television. In fact, it becomes almost compulsory to use that kind of language on television after 9 o'clock. Even the newsreaders will use it. It's the bleeping news, they'll say, after 9 o'clock. But you can't say that kind of thing on radio, sadly. Don't ask me why. You just can't. But I get it, Rita, and... yeah, you've been conned. You were told something that they knew that you wanted to hear, and you believed them. There's no shame in that. There would be shame in you continuing to believe them because the evidence is in already. So those people who still believe in sunlit uplands, then, you need to get your head out of your area and wake up, because it most certainly is later than you think. But for those that were fooled by, a lot of charlatans and con artists, well, there's no shame in that. And I do appreciate the call, Rita, but like I said, there's some things you just can't say on the radio. Even though I agree with you 100%. Dan says, I'm in distress. I missed the first half hour of the show. I will atone accordingly. Now, I could rewind it, but it's not the same as that frequency modulated feed. Gets to my ears faster than any of the digital streaming methods. Also, why don't you announce that you're in glorious stereo on FM 97.3 in London anymore? Well, because I don't know. Are we in? It wouldn't make any difference if we were in stereo, would it? I mean, I'm in mono. I know I am. Mono, baby. It's the future. But if you did miss any part of this show, then we do put it out as a podcast. You are aware of that, right? We take the news and the ads out. It takes less time to listen to. Not all of the ads. Most of the ads. Mostly. Takes less time to listen to. You'll use less electricity. And with the money you save, I usually come up with something funny to say here, but I can't remember. I preempted myself. I didn't think about it before I started saying it. And then I got down the road of that sentence and I thought, oh, uh-oh. Warning. There's nothing at the end of this. What an idiot I am. Let's try it again. We take the news and the ads out. Mostly the ads. Most of them. You'll use less electricity, and by that method, you'll save the planet. There you go. You'll be able to feel good about yourself. All gooey and warm. Ask for it by name on an internet near you. It's the magic phrase, if you've got one of them stupid smart speakers, is play Nick Abbot, the whole show podcast. It's only on Global Player. If you haven't got Global Player, it's free. You can get it from your app store or globalplayer.com. And when you get it, it's Nick Abbot, the whole show podcast. The Friday and the Saturday night shows get stuck up the internet. News free, most of the ads gone. You're welcome. New Malden, Ahmed.
Oh, hello, Nick.
Ahmed.
Yes, I hope I haven't forgotten what I was going to say, but here it is. Now, another just unjustifiable interest rate increase, which is a result of sins and incompetence of this gang in 10 Downing Street led by a schoolboy.
Yes, and a schoolgirl.
Absolutely. And a schoolgirl, of course. Now, as far as this monetary policy committee is concerned, since they know not what they're doing, I think they need to look up on Google AI, and it will tell them what causes inflation and what factors will help to reduce it.
Yeah.
And one of them is not to increase interest rate. It only suppresses all the businesses, small, medium-sized businesses, bigger conglomerates. They can carry on for a while. because this incompetent government is subsidizing just about everybody other than the,
yes, I mean they're pretending that they're giving you money to pay your fuel bills, but that's not what they're doing. They're giving your money to the energy giants to guarantee their income.
Indeed.
That's what they're doing. They're not helping the little people out.
No, and also now they are suggesting maybe we should help the mortgage borrower, mortgage people with huge mortgages. Again, they'd be subsidizing the banks, not the individuals.
Yeah, same as the Help to Buy scheme. That wasn't helping people to buy. That was helping property developers to keep the money coming in.
Well, indeed. I mean, what is going on? I mean, how long are we going to keep taking this standing or lying down? Or what are we...
It's the British way, Ahmed. We're masochistic. Thank you, sir. May I have another?
Ben, I can't believe it.
Believe it, it's happening to you.
Something's got to be done, I think.
Yeah, something's got to change. Yeah. All right.
Thank you.
Thanks a lot, Ahmed. 0345 6060 973. Raising interest rates don't make no sense to me, but then I am not an economics expert. But it seems to me that the reason that they do that, in theory, is to stop people from spending money and make them save, because they'll have less money because they'll be spending more on mortgages and putting a roof over their head, rents and so on, and savings accounts will become more attractive, so they can put all of that extra cash they've got lying around into savings accounts rather than spend it. But correct me if I'm wrong, but almost nobody in this country has got any extra money lying around. We can barely afford to pay the bills. So how is making life worse going to make life better? Explain that to me, I double dare you. 0345 6060 973. Alfie says Sadiq Khan would not fly the Union Jack or the English flag of St George because he thinks it's racist, yet he would fly the EU flag with pride. Is there anything that yourself and Khan really like about this country, seeing that you are both making a decent living out of it? And please don't say that you are concerned about the downtrodden little people. It's so patronising and sincere, says Alfie. So, in other words, Alfie, if you don't agree with the government, or you personally, Alfie, then I should get out of this country. This is not your country. Those who you would agree with, Alfie, are not patriots. Getting the country out of the European Union and betting that it would be bad for the economy, as those that did fund our Brexit, the vote to leave, did, and then bet that the thing that they were persuading us to do would be bad for the country, those are the people that you would support, Alfie. They're not patriots. It's the opposite of that. 0345 6060 973. Text 84850. Email nick@lbc.co.uk. If you're on Twitter...
This is LBC with Nick Abbott. Call 0345 6060 973. Text 84850. Alexa, send a comment to LBC.
Come on, we're running late.
0345 6060 973. Pimlico. Penny.
Nick, hi.
Penny.
It's a bit of a while now, but you talked to the subject of GPs and nurses moving to Australia.
Yes.
And I have both worked in Australia as a nurse and also as a healthcare strategist in one of the government departments.
Oh, yeah.
And the thing I wanted to raise was how they fund general practice in Australia, which is people pay, they're sort of means tested, and then they pay to see a GP, whereas if they go to the accident and emergency, it's actually free, which skews the way people access healthcare. But I wanted to bring it back to this country, which is...
How much do they pay, though, by the way?
Oh, about, for a GP, $250 a year.
How much is
salary.
That is in real money?
Probably about close to 200 a year, probably.
A year?
Yes.
Right.
So they're well paid, and the nurses are well paid, but...
Hang on a minute. That 200... What are you saying? That citizens pay £200 a year, and then they can go to...
Sorry, no, the salaries of the GPs.
Oh, no. How much do people pay to visit a GP?
Well, it would be you can pay perhaps $60 a visit just to see a GP, and then on top of that, if they ask for any blood tests or investigations, you pay for that as well.
But people don't, though. I mean, I can't imagine that they do, because most people will have insurance that will cover all that, right?
Well...
With their work.
Well, yes and no. There are people that don't have work and don't have health insurance cover. So when I was there, I was not entitled to, because I was there on a short-term visa, I had to pay for everything in primary care, but if I walked into A&E, I could get everything free.
So like here, then? That's just like here, right?
Sort of, but I think the point I really want to make here is that we have to rethink the way we fund primary care in this country, because it's always been run on the basis that GPs are independent business people, and they run a business and they make money out of the way they're paid. But I think what we've now got is a crisis, that's just not the workload that they're now encountering, and the fact that we've lost a lot of GPs. I think we have to really rethink the whole process of funding, which probably needs to include some means testing, so that you make a decision if you want to spend £20 to go and see your GP, that perhaps the same issue should be that if you go to A&E to see someone, you pay £20 as well. I think the problem is that we have a very bad policy which says if you go to A&E, we want to see you within 4 hours. But if you want to see a GP, the target is 48 hours. And I think this is what's kind of ruined access to general practice.
48 hours to see a GP? Well, good luck with that.
Well, I mean...
48 days, more like.
I mean, that sounds like luxury now, because you can't even speak to anybody on the phone.
No.
You know, I had to wait for a whole week for a phone call with a GP.
Yeah.
So
That's right.
But the GP practice, primary care, is the gatekeeper to healthcare. You know, it deals with 80% of healthcare.
Mm-hmm.
So I think the issue is we don't want to lose and hemorrhage people to Australia if we can get general practice and primary care to be a really a good place to work, where they're not overworked and underfunded, which is kind of the model that we've sunk into over the last 10 years, basically.
Yes. What we need to do is emulate more successful health services which have better outcomes for patients and are more accessible as far as treatment is concerned of our closest neighbours in Europe. Where I fear we are going instead is the American route, where you will get excellent healthcare if you've got a lot of money, and if you haven't, you get nothing.
Well, that would be disastrous if we ended up with the American system, but I think we might be heading in that direction if we're not really careful about properly funding primary care.
Right, if we're not very careful about who we vote for in the next general election.
Well, yeah, absolutely, but I don't know who's got a good health strategy in their manifestos, because I think the whole thing's been slightly run down, and we are hemorrhaging staff, and our workforce is our biggest issue for providing healthcare in this country.
Right.
And the more we lose, the worse it's going to get, and the more it's going to cost.
Yes, to put right. Exactly right. OK, well said. Thanks a lot, Penny. 0345 6060 973. Now, let's have... who should we have? The Wirral. Nora.
Thank you for that, Nick. Put me on after somebody so serious.
I just wanted to talk about dreams.
Dreams. Right. Take it away.
Well, when you said if you tell somebody your dream, then it does come true. It's the other way around anyway. You tell somebody about it, it doesn't come true.
If you tell somebody about your dream, it doesn't come true. Is that what you just said?
No. Yeah. And if it does, then you can go, see, I told you. So let everybody think you're prescient. So that was my one point.
Right.
Another point is, see, I dream quite a lot about LBC presenters.
Uh-oh.
Well, yeah, because I fall asleep with the radio on.
Right.
Or on catch-up. And I used to go to bed. Oh, it was lovely. The halcyon days. I used to go to bed with Darren.
How can you have the radio on and then go to sleep while it's on? I mean, I need complete silence.
No, I'm one of those people that needs noise.
Really?
And if I'm sleeping, if there's somebody in the room sleeping, let's not go into detail. But anyway, I have to wear a headset.
Yeah. But doesn't the wearing of the headset keep you awake, though?
No, unless you play one of your noises or there's a something happens, an advert where there's a screech or something, and then that wakes me up, and that's annoying.
Right. So if I did this, that would wake you right up.
Had I been asleep, I would have done the trick. Right. And then the other thing I wanted to say about the falafel, you know what falafel is, don't you?
Yeah,
Boris
it's like...
Johnson's middle name.
It's Boris Johnson's middle name. He's never eaten one, but that's what his name is.
Yeah. Wait.
All right. Thanks a lot, Nora. 0345 6060 973. Phil says, sadly, there's just nothing that they can blame on Jeremy Corbyn. It's so unfair. Well, that is true. But even if they can't blame something on Jeremy Corbyn, they'll go ahead and blame it on him anyway. Thanks a lot, Jeremy Corbyn. Bill! Yes, see what you've done. And Jason says, it's the three big ones. We're ripped off by the oil companies, the energy companies, and now the banks. Aren't the oil companies also the energy companies? He said, money isn't everything, then we wouldn't be in this very sorry state of affairs, broken Brits in broken Britain. Well, some of that makes sense. Not a lot, but a bit. Plymouth, Mark.
Oh, hi. Yeah, I just wanted to say about Richie Sunak, and he's taken a pay cut going into politics, but I think he's the sort of person who'd have a long-term plan, and it's a bit like George Osborne, how much money he's making now, and I think Richie will make a huge amount of money, and he's the sort of person who'd have a long-term plan for himself, and he'll make a huge amount of money.
How can he need any more money? He personally won, because it was on a bet. Essentially, he just won hundreds of millions of pounds. I don't know what the exact amount was, but let's assume it's more money than any reasonable person could spend in their entire lives. And then he married somebody who was even richer than he was.
Yeah, he's set for life, really. I just realised as well, an anagram of his name is high-risk anus.
Is that a fact?
Yeah.
0345 6060 973. The stuff you learn on this show, educational, no?
No.
Now then, if you missed any part of today's super show, and there's pages and pages of texts and emails and stuff that I'll have to do when I come back tonight, I am very bad at my job, and I have failed to read a sufficient amount this evening. So I'll do it tonight when I come back at 10. If you missed any of today's show, it is on Global Player as a podcast. We take the news and the ads out. Most of the ads. Mostly. It's called Nick Abbot, The Whole Show Podcast. If you've got one of them stupid smart speakers, that is the magic phrase. Play Nick Abbot, The Whole Show Podcast. And if you've got Global Player, it's exclusive to that. And with that device, you can rewind live radio. How they do that? Nobody knows. It's like a magic trick. I'm going to be back tonight at 10. Coming up at 4 is Ali Mirage, but right now, Richard Spur.
Good morning. Still to come, the Home Office has been accused of leaving people homeless by outbidding councils in a competition for scarce accommodation. I'll be asking what the alternatives might be and how homelessness in the UK might now be tackled. But first, the number of Brits who want to rejoin the EU is now at its highest level since 2016, with many of those surveyed saying they trusted the European Commission, 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 they